Hi guys, welcome to today's video. Today we're going to look at a few news stories that's come out last week. I'd like to apologise for my voice. I have been ill for the last week, so a little bit of a coughing fit here and there, but we are on the mend. So there's two news stories, as I say, that's happened last week. There were actually three, but I'm not going to include one of them because we've talked about the R6 Mark III until I'm blue in the face at this point, and I don't really want to talk about it again until it comes out at this point. They keep doing news stories about it, and they all seem to be the same. They just keep keeping it relevant until the 6th of November. So we're not going to talk about that, but we are going to talk about some other stuff that I saw that was thought was equally as exciting. So let's get into those news stories right now. So the first news story we're going to look at today is looks like Canon are starting their research on some new Supertele primes, potentially starting 2026, but these are like the prior patent applications, so these are like their first sort of dip into sort of researching on them. There's nothing sort of concrete at all, but there's a few here we're looking at. So the 400 2.8L sort of size, so there might be a Mark II version of this obviously then coming at that point. And then you'll be obviously using the adapters and stuff to make them longer from there. Interestingly, there is a 500 f4, so they haven't made a 500 f4 for a very long time, but there is a pre-patent for one of these. This would be quite an interesting lens to see, obviously, of me using now for almost 4 years now, probably over 4 years actually, in fact, using the Mark I 500 f4. And then we got a new 600 f4 as well, so they're just scoping out Mark IIs obviously on the 600 400, which makes sense because those lenses came out a very long time ago now, and are potentially due their Mark II updates at this point, but it'll be interesting to see if they do go back to where they used to have and sort of do look at this more 500mm focal length too. It's a length that the more and more I use it, the more and more I enjoy having it, because it's not too far. It's quite useful for birds and everything like that, especially the kingfishers. It's been actually a very nice, useful focal length to have, and I've quite enjoyed using it. I think the 600mm will push me out slightly further than I'd want to be, but you know, it's a good lens. F4 can never go wrong. So it'd be nice to see if they do an RF version of this as well. The price would have to be a fair amount cheaper than the 600mm to make it worth it. So that'll be the considerations. Can they make it cheap enough to make it worth it, and go from there? But there are three lenses that looks like Canon are currently investigating, either updating or creating from scratch at the moment. So the other news story I'm going to look at today, there are news stories about the R6 Mark III, but I think we've talked about that until it's blue in the face at this point, and I don't want to bore you talking about the same camera over and over again. So this is the R7 Mark II. As I said in the last video about the R6, I didn't think this was coming out 2026. This is pretty much a confirmation now. We know November the 6th is the next big announcement, and we think that's going to be the R6 III. And then that, because of everything with the tariffs and everything at the start of the year, that's pushed everything back along a bit. So we are going to see this potentially, people are now saying the first half of 2026. Again, I think it's going to be the first quarter potentially. I don't think they're going to wait that long. I think they do have this pretty much nailed now, this camera, and potentially it is ready to go. It's just going to delay it until next year, just because they don't want it to overshadow the launch of the R6 Mark III. They want to give it its own pedestal to launch on and hopefully get nice sales through that. They don't want to muddy it by launching two cameras at the same time, which are going to have the same megapixels potentially, and one be aps-c, one be full frame, and confuse the waters a little bit. They want to spread them out. So I think we're right here. I think we are going to look at sort of that first half at least. I think the first quarter. We'll go from there on that. There's a show in Japan, February 25th. So again, that'll be the first quarter. I think we're going to be looking at that sort of zone personally. They're saying March. Again, that'll be first quarter too. So let's see where we get to with this. But it's finally closing in. It's a camera that, if it's the camera it's meant to have been originally, I'd be very interested in. I know my dad is also incredibly interested in it, so I might let him buy it. Unlike me, this last time was the guinea pig for the R7 Mark I. He can be the guinea pig for the Mark II, and then because he'll have it, I'll be able to review it from there for you guys. So at least one of us will have this to be able to review going forward, which would be good as long as it comes out and looks as good as it does look, and looks like a true successor to the 7D series, like the R7 Mark I should have been. So those news stories there, maybe some exciting new lenses in the prime sort of space coming from Canon. It would be interesting if they do a 500mm. It would have to be obviously cheaper than the 600. Is there a market for the 500mm anymore? That's the big question. Obviously Canon thought there wasn't, hence why they didn't really make one towards the end of the life of the EF lenses. So is there room now, they're thinking maybe to try an RF 500mm, but it would need to be a cheaper prime lens. I'm talking less than 10 grand at least to make it worth it. And then at that point, is this Supertele lens they're developing potentially a 300 to 600 or wherever it's going to be, 200 to 600, will that then take over that space anyway? So let's wait and see. There obviously is time now potentially for a Mark II 400mm and a Mark II 600mm anyway, so it's interesting to see they're already starting to look at the development paths of those. But obviously interestingly as well, we've got the R7 Mark II, and that's obviously now pretty much confirmed and confined, unless they do a magical surprise to us, to next year, which is what I thought anyway. The specs do look exciting, and it's something that hopefully either myself or my dad purchase when it comes out live, so we can get the content to you ASAP on that one. Obviously if my dad gets it, I won't steal it from him straight away, but I will do potentially an unboxing with it, get him to do the unboxing or something like that, just so he can have the enjoyment of opening it, being his camera and all that. But then we'll do some tests against the R3, we can do tests against the 1D, we can do tests against the R7 Mark I. We got one of them still downstairs at the moment, unless he decides to trade that one in. But overall, I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what your thoughts are down below on both of the subjects, the R7 and the Superteles. Anything exciting there that you guys will be looking for and looking out for when they come through? Any questions at all, please pop them down below as well, and I will get back to you in the comments section as I always do. But most of all, have a good day, and I'll catch you in the next one. See you again soon. Goodbye.